That's difficult to watch, and we want to go more in depth on this topic. Nate Carlisle joining us live in studio. It's good to have you here, Nate. First of all, the basics are dog bites and use of canines. Is that now required to be reported by police in Salt Lake?
So on a department-by-department basis, it sounds like at this point, if police departments have updated their processes to inform the district attorney that there's been a use of force involving a dog, then yes, those would be forwarded to the DA. But Sim Gill, when we spoke to him, wasn't sure that every department in Salt Lake County had updated their policies as such. Wow.
Okay. So that's quite a dramatic use of force to not have to report to somebody. So you mentioned that he's found out about things that might be crimes, but it's beyond the statute of limitations. Now, explain that. How could it be? How could he be finding out about them so late?
So most felonies in Utah have a 4-year statute of limitations, but misdemeanors only have, I think it's a 1-year statute of limitations. What Gill said is that he's seen some videos now where he thinks there was probably misdemeanor conduct on the part of the police officer, but this happened more than a year ago and he can't file criminal charges at this point. And if you're wondering the difference between a misdemeanor and felony assault, it usually has to do with the injury inflicted on the victim.
Okay, yeah, that's I guess what strikes me there is kind of this illogical conundrum that we wind up in, because it's the people who are supposed to report crimes who, if there is in fact a crime there, it's not been judged yet, but they didn't report it. They didn't report it. So it's the authorities who allowed the statute of limitations to run out, it seems, for themselves.
One of the things that the police departments have said, and you heard from Joe McBride there of Salt Lake City's police union, is they maintain that the DAs had a crack at this once when they submitted the video as part of the what they call the screening package for the underlying offense. In other words, whoever they were trying to arrest with the dog, the DA should have watched the video and have seen then and there if there were any crimes committed by the police officer. What Gill has said is that his prosecutors were not screening those for police conduct. They were screening to determine if the person being arrested committed any crimes, and if so, what.
Okay, and what do police dogs and handlers have to go through in order to have this job?
Well, for the dogs, it's a little bit like an NBA prospect, right? They're supposed to have gotten training somewhere else before they arrive at the police department, and then they get some new training. They have to get certified in the state of Utah at that police department, and the same agency that regulates police officers also regulates K-9s. They've got some standards they have to meet every year, and the handlers have to meet those standards as well.
I wonder, Nate, you talked with the psychologist there, and just the notion of what fear does to somebody, and the idea that you expect people to hear directions and be able to comply when they're terrified. It seems like there has to be some judgment involving whether they're presenting a threat other than simply if their hands are in the air and they're standing up. That's not good enough. They need to be on the ground with their. It just seems like they're not allowing for human fallibility, I guess.
That would be what the psychologist, Dr. Asnani, says, and Sim Gill is now taking that into account too in some of his reviews, and he's acknowledged that there's been a few cases over the years where he filed additional charges against a suspect who was fighting against a dog, and it seems Gill is rethinking that policy now too. It's going to be more in a circumstantial, having to do with the circumstances, that in and of itself fighting the dog might not get you more charges in Salt Lake County.
Yeah, it would be just kind of a gut reaction to, it'd be hard not to, it seems like. Just lastly, so with Salt Lake City itself, they're still restrained from being able to use dogs right now, is that right?
Well, use dogs to apprehend suspects, yes. Let's remember there's multiple kinds of police dogs. Some are just trained to sniff, whether it be drugs or bombs or even humans. To be taught to attack a human, that's specific training that not every police dog has. But for the moment, yes, Salt Lake City is not using K-9s to apprehend suspects.
All right. Nate Carlisle, thanks so much.
Thank you.